The FBI agent looked at me and said, "You unknowingly witnessed your neighbor's $200,000 fraud scheme. It all started with a fence that was 1 inch over." March 2024. I was holding my morning coffee, enjoying the cool March breeze, when I saw the thick white envelope in my mailbox. The moment I spotted the pink HOA stamp in the corner, my stomach dropped. In 6 years of living in Meadowbrook Estates, I'd learned that nothing good ever came in those pink-stamped envelopes. I tore it open right there on my driveway, coffee still steaming in my other hand. Bold black letters screamed from the top of the page. Fine notification. Immediate action required. My eyes scanned down the official-looking document. "Dear Mr. Mitchell, a precise measurement of your property boundaries has been conducted by certified surveyors on March 5, 2024. It has been determined that your backyard fence extends 13 centimeters onto neighboring property owned by the HOA common area. This constitutes a direct violation of HOA Article 7b, Section 3, regarding property encroachment and boundary violations. Per the established penalty schedule, a fine of $12,000 has been assessed against your property at 372 Maple Drive. Payment must be received within 30 days of this notice. Failure to comply will result in a lien being placed on your property and potential foreclosure proceedings. Karen Westbrook, Property Compliance Coordinator, $12,000. 4-1 in. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped my coffee mug onto the driveway. The paper trembled in my grip as I read it again, hoping I'd misunderstood. But no, $12,000. The number seemed to grow larger each time I looked at it. My wife Jessica and I bought this house 6 years ago when Ethan was just born. We'd fallen in love with the neighborhood's tree-lined streets, good schools, friendly neighbors who actually talked to each other. We didn't build that fence. It came with the house. The previous owners had it installed by a professional fencing company. Professional installation, all permits obtained, everything guaranteed, compliant with local ordinances and HOA rules. I had all the paperwork filed away in our home office. "This is insane," I muttered, reading it again to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. Inside, Jessica was making breakfast for our 2-year-old son, Ethan, who was happily destroying Cheerios in his high chair. "Honey, look at this," I said, handing her the letter. Jessica's face went from curious to pale as she read. "Jake, this can't be real. $12,000. Where are we going to get that money? We're already paying off the car loan. Daycare keeps increasing, and your mom's hospital bills from her surgery." She was right. Our financial situation was critical. I'm an electrical engineer with a decent salary. Jessica works part-time as a dental hygienist, but $12,000 isn't something we can pull from thin air. Our savings had maybe $7,500. Our emergency fund, that still wasn't enough. "There has to be a mistake," I said. "Barbara Henderson is reasonable. She's been HOA president for 8 years. She'll understand this is wrong." Jessica bounced Ethan on her hip. "I hope you're right, because if not, double," quotes she didn't finish. We both knew what happened if we couldn't pay. Same day, afternoon, Barbara Henderson was pruning roses when I arrived. The 65-year-old woman with gray hair in a neat bun had won Best Garden 3 years running. She waved cheerfully. "Jake, how's Ethan?" "Barbara, we need to talk." I handed her the letter. She put on reading glasses and studied it. Her expression changed from curious to shocked. $12,000 for 1 inch of fence. She read it twice. "Jake, this didn't come through me. I never approved this fine." Relief washed over me. "So you can cancel it?" Barbara's face tightened with anger I'd never seen. Karen Westbrook did this. Last year we created the Property Compliance Coordinator position to handle minor violations, overgrown hedges, mailbox painting, but this exceeds her authority. Any fine over $5,000 requires my approval. "So it's invalid?" Barbara bit her lip. "I need to talk to Karen." "But Jake, I'll be honest, she's changed dramatically in 6 months. When she started, She seemed professional. Now she's aggressive, controlling. Several neighbors complained. But I can't find concrete bylaw violations. What complaints? Excessive fines, unannounced inspections, foreclosure threats. Remember Denise Warner from Jessica's Garden Club? Karen fined her $4,500, claiming her garage door was the wrong color, except Denise had receipts proving it was the exact HOA-approved shade. Karen refused to cancel it. My stomach dropped. What did Denise do? Paid every penny. Cleaned out her savings. Because Karen threatened foreclosure, told Denise she'd lose her home. Denise is 73, lives on $1,600 a month Social Security. She couldn't afford it, but couldn't risk losing her home of 22 years. That's extortion. Technically, our bylaws allow liens for unpaid fines, but only as last resort for repeated violations. Karen's weaponizing it for single minor infractions. Barbara pulled out her phone. Let me call her now. She dialed. After a few rings, someone answered. Karen, this is Barbara. I'm calling about Jake Mitchell's $12,000. What? Her face went from professional to angry. No, you need to listen. This is excessive. And, Karen, this didn't get my approval, which bylaws require. I'm not your boss, but I am HOA president. Don't you dare, ... Double quotes. Her face turned red. Hello, Karen. Barbara lowered the phone, staring at it. She hung up on me. Actually hung up. Her hands trembled. This is worse than I thought. I'm calling an emergency board meeting tomorrow. We may need to suspend her authority. March 2024. The board meeting. The meeting was in Barbara's living room. 5 board members. Barbara as president, George Chun as treasurer, Rita Delgado as secretary, plus Tom Park and Michelle Rodriguez. I sat against the wall, aloud as an affected homeowner. Barbara explained everything. Unauthorized fines, threats, the phone disrespect, the pattern of aggressive behavior. I'm proposing we remove Karen Westbrook immediately, Barbara concluded. She's abused her authority, violated bylaws, and harmed community members. Silence. Then George Chun, 60-year-old retired accountant, cleared his throat. Barbara, I respect you tremendously. 8 years together on this board, but you're wrong about Karen. Barbara looked shocked. George, Karen's doing excellent work. I've tracked statistics. Property values increased 12% in 7 months, significantly higher than surrounding neighborhoods. Why? Karen's strict standards. Our neighborhood looks better than ever. Fresh paint, manicured lawns, no eyesores. Rita Delgado nodded. George is right. Yes, people complain about fines, but they're breaking rules and don't like getting caught. Jake's fence is technically outside boundaries. 13 centimeters may seem small, but rules are rules. I couldn't stay quiet. 13 centimeters, that's 5 inches. The fence was installed before I bought the house. I have documentation showing professional installation with proper permits. Your problem, Tom Park said coldly. The lawyer always dressed for court. When you purchased, you became responsible for everything. If the previous owner erred, you fix it. Ignorance doesn't excuse violations. Barbara stood. Stop. We're not debating whether there's a technical violation. We're discussing a $12,000 fine that's grossly excessive. A reasonable fine would be $500 plus fence relocation. $12,000 is punitive, and Karen applied it without my approval. Michelle Rodriguez, young lawyer with sleek ponytail, opened her folder. Actually, Barbara, I reviewed by Article 20. Section 4 states the property compliance coordinator may independently apply fines up to $10,000. Jake's is $12,000, only $2,000 over. Still requires my approval. No, Michelle said calmly. The full text says, the coordinator may independently apply fines up to $10,000 and under reasonable circumstances may exceed this limit by 20%. $12,000 is exactly 20% over 10. Technically within her authority. My jaw dropped. Who wrote that? Karen did. George smiled. Last year, when we created her position, she drafted the job description and authority clauses. We all approved it because it seemed reasonable, creating efficiency without bogging down the board. Barbara buried her face in her hands. How was I so blind? ... Not abuse if it follows rules, Rita said primly. George stood. Time to vote. Barbara proposes removing Karen Westbrook. All in favor. Only Barbara raised her hand. Opposed doors Rita, Tom, Michelle raised theirs. 4-1. Motion denied. Karen remains coordinator. George turned to me. Jake, you have 28 days to pay. I suggest you figure it out. That night, the crisis at home. Jessica sat at our kitchen table with tears streaming down her face. Ethan was finally asleep in his crib upstairs, exhausted from playing at the park that afternoon. He had no idea his parents were facing a financial crisis that could cost him his home. What are we going to do, Jake? Her voice was thick with emotion, barely above a whisper. Where are we going to find $12,000? We have $7,500 in savings, but that's supposed to be for emergencies, and it's still not enough. Even if we drain every penny, we're still $4,500 short. I don't know. I sat across from her, my head in my hands, feeling like the world's biggest failure. The credit cards are maxed out from your car repair last month and buying the new water heater when the old one flooded the basement. Mom's cancer treatment is costing us $2,500 monthly, even with insurance. I can't ask my siblings for money. They're in worse financial shape than we are. Tom's been unemployed for 3 months, and Sarah just had twins. Jessica wiped her eyes with a tissue, mascara smudging. What about borrowing against your I know there's penalties and taxes, ... We'd lose thousands in penalties and taxes, completely destroy our retirement savings, and it still might not be enough to cover everything. I reached across the table and took her hand. I worked so hard to build that retirement fund. It's supposed to be our security. Our home is our security, Jessica said quietly, squeezing my hand. What good is retirement money if we don't have a home to retire in? The silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. Somewhere in the neighborhood, a dog barked. A car drove past. Normal evening sounds in a normal neighborhood, while our entire world was collapsing. Maybe we need a lawyer, Jessica said quietly. Lawyers are expensive. Michelle already defends the HOA. How many neighborhood lawyers would help us? Then it hit me. Wait, doesn't Denise Warner's son do real estate law? Jessica's eyes brightened. David Warner works in Los Angeles. Maybe he could advise us. Next morning, I called David. His voice was young, but professional. Mr. Mitchell, Mom told me about your situation and hers. Frankly, your HOA probably violates state laws on excessive fines and improper foreclosure threats. But court is expensive and slow. You could spend $20,000 in legal fees fighting a $12,000 fine. My heart sank, so what can I do? First, send formal written objection to the board. Document everything. Interactions, letters, emails. Create a paper trail. Second, research Karen Westbrook. Research her. Mum said Karen appeared 6 months ago. Nobody knows her background. Where she worked, lived, her references, all vague. Extremely unusual for someone in authority. Most HOAs do background checks. So dig, social media, public records, court records. Is that legal? Absolutely. You're not hacking or trespassing, just looking at public information. If there's something suspicious, it might give you leverage. After hanging up, I felt a spark of hope. Maybe there was a way out. April 2024. The investigation for 2 weeks. Every evening after work, I researched Karen Westbrook in my home office. Jessica would bring me coffee around 9 and whisper encouragement before leaving me with my computer and growing notes. First, shock. Karen didn't exist on social media. No Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. Nothing. For a woman in her 50s, in 2024, Extremely unusual. Court records showed nothing, not even a traffic ticket. Property records revealed her house was purchased September 3, 2023, 2 months before joining the HOA. Purchase price, $540,000. Cash. I called Mark, a financial advisor. How does someone have $500,000 in cash? Inheritance, property sale, savings, ... or less legitimate things. Money laundering, fraud proceeds, hiding assets. I dug deeper. The seller, Westbrook Family Trust. Karen bought from a trust sharing her name. The trust's creator was Harold Westbrook. Died 3 years ago. Left everything to his only daughter, Karen. But Harold had no records before the trust. No birth certificate. Social Security. Tax returns. Like he materialized from nowhere. Our searching led to a newspaper archive from 2007. Headline, Harold Westbrook arrested in multi-million-dollar real estate fraud. The article detailed how developer Harold Westbrook scammed elderly homeowners through fake reverse mortgages. Total damages, $3,800,000. Victims, 47 families. There was a photo. Younger, name said Harold. But the face, I recognized it. Karen Westbrook. Harold wasn't her father. Harold was Karen. She'd changed her identity. 1:15 a.m. Staring at my computer, the photos on one side, recent picture of Karen from a neighborhood newsletter on the other, same facial structure, eyes, scar near the left eyebrow. Karen Westbrook was a lie, fabricated identity, fabricated history. This woman controlled our HOA, access to finances, addresses, personal data, power to levy fines, threaten foreclosure, destroy lives. But why? Loud knock at my door. 1:15 in the morning. Heart racing. I looked through the peephole. Karen Westbrook stood on my doorstep. Middle of the night. She knocked harder, then held up a white envelope against the peephole. No choice. I opened the door. Jake Mitchell. Cold smile. Red lipstick, looked black in porch light. Sorry to disturb you late, but I wanted to personally deliver this. She thrust the envelope against my chest. Your 30-day payment period expired at midnight. That's your foreclosure notice. 14 days to pay $12,000 plus $1,500 late fee, or your home goes to auction. $13,500. You're adding more late fees per article none T. Read your bylaws more carefully. She turned, paused, looked back. Beautiful home. Jake's lovely family. Real shame if Ethan had to grow up somewhere else because his father couldn't follow simple rules. She walked into darkness, heels clicking on sidewalk. I stood holding the envelope, hands shaking. One thought repeated. She knows I'm investigating. She knows. And this is her warning. What's Karen's real plan? Why would a convicted fraudster target a suburban H? Share your theories. April 2024. The morning after, I barely slept that night. Karen's midnight visit kept replaying in my mind. Her cold smile. The way she mentioned Ethan by name. The foreclosure notice sitting on my kitchen counter like a ticking time bomb. By 6 a.m., I was sitting at my computer again, staring at Harold Westbrook's arrest photo from 2007. The resemblance to Karen was undeniable. Same angular cheekbones, same piercing eyes, even the same small scar near the left eyebrow. Jessica came downstairs in her bathrobe, hair messy from sleep. Did you sleep at all? Maybe an hour. I rubbed my burning eyes. Jess, look at this. I showed her the newspaper article, then pulled up a recent photo of Karen from the neighborhood newsletter. Jessica leaned in close, studying both images. Oh my God, she whispered. That's her. That's definitely her. Jake, what are we going to do? If she's a convicted fraudster using a fake identity, she's dangerous. Really dangerous. I know. But we need proof. Solid, undeniable proof. These photos look similar, but a lawyer could argue they're different people. I need more. Jessica grabbed my hand. Jake, maybe we should just go to the police. Show them what you found, and tell them what? That I think my HOA coordinator might be a criminal from 17 years ago based on old newspaper photos. They'll think I'm crazy. Or worse, they'll think I'm trying to harass her because I don't want to pay my fine. I stood up, pacing. No. I need concrete evidence first. Then we go to the authorities. How much time do we have before the foreclosure? I checked the notice again. 13 days. We have 13 days to either pay $13,500 or lose our home. Jessica's face went pale. 13 days. The investigation deepens that morning. I called in sick to work. I couldn't focus on electrical circuits when my life was falling apart. Instead, I drove to the county clerk's office downtown. The clerk helped me request copies of documents related to the Westbrook Family Trust and Harold Westbrook's death certificate. Doing family research, she asked. Something like that. I paid $42 and sat in my car, studying every page. Harold Westbrook's death certificate listed cause of death as cardiac arrest at a Nevada residence. The attending physician was Dr. Robert Chun. Funeral home, Desert Valley Memorial Services in Las Vegas. I called Desert Valley Memorial from my car. Good morning, Desert Valley Memorial. This is Ashley speaking. I'm verifying information about a funeral you handled. Harold Westbrook, 3 years ago. Let me check our records. I heard typing. Long pause. Sir, I'm not showing any Harold Westbrook in our system. My heart raced. Can you... March 2021. More typing. I've checked going back 5 years. No Harold Westbrook. Are you sure you have the right funeral home? The death certificate lists Desert Valley Memorial. Then there's been an error, sir. We never handled that case. The death certificate was fake. Harold never died. Harold became Karen. Next, I searched for Dr. Robert Chun in Nevada. No medical license. No practice. No record of any doctor by that name in the entire state. Everything was fabricated. The neighbor's warning. I was driving home, my mind spinning with what I'd discovered, when my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, Mr. Mitchell? This is Margaret Foster. I live on Birch Street. Hi, Mrs. Foster. How can I help you? Her voice was nervous. Whispered, I heard you're having trouble with Karen Westbrook. The fence fine. Yes. Mr. Mitchell, I need to tell you something. Karen's not what she seems. Last month, she said, my rosebushes violated HOA rules. Fined me $8,000. $8,000. For rosebushes. I couldn't pay. I'm 82. Living on Social Security. So she offered a deal. Said she'd erase the fine if I signed over my car title. My Honda CR-V. I pulled over. Did you sign it? Yes. She was crying. I was scared of losing my home. She said she'd foreclose. So I signed. She drove away with my car that day. Now I can't visit my daughter in Arizona or get 2 doctor appointments. Did you report this? Who would I tell? She's the compliance officer. The board supports her. George Chun said I should have paid my fine instead of negotiating. My blood boiled. Mrs. Foster, write down everything. Dates, times, what Karen said. Your testimony could stop her. After a pause, Mrs. Foster agreed. There's more. Karen did similar things to Frank Martinez. Took his motorcycle. The Johnsons on Elm took jewelry. We're all too scared because she threatens foreclosure. After hanging up, I sat in my car, stunned. This wasn't just identity fraud. Karen was running an extortion racket, stealing property from elderly homeowners by exploiting their fear of losing their homes. The FBI connection. I drove straight to Barbara Henderson's house. She answered the door in gardening clothes, dirt on her knees. Jake, what's wrong? You look terrible. Barbara, we need to talk. Now, this is bigger than a fence. Fine. We sat in her living room. I laid out everything. The fake identity, the fraudulent death certificate, Harold Westbrook's arrest from 2007, Mrs. Foster's car, the pattern of extortion. Barbara listened. her face growing more horrified with each revelation. When I finished, she sat back heavily in her chair. My God. She's been using our HOA as a hunting ground. We gave her authority over our neighbors, and she weaponized it. Barbara stood up, pacing. We need to go to the police. Right now. I tried calling the police non-emergency line earlier. They said HOA disputes are civil matters unless there's evidence of criminal activity. They told me to hire a lawyer. This is criminal activity. Extortion, fraud, identity, theft. No, but we need someone who will take this seriously. Someone with jurisdiction over fraud cases. Barbara thought for a moment, then snapped her fingers. My nephew, Christopher Henderson. He works for the FBI's white-collar crime division in Los Angeles. Let me call him She-Dial. Put it on speaker. Aunt Barbara. A young man's voice. Chris, I need your help. I have a situation that might be FBI jurisdiction. Can you talk? Always, for you. What's going on? Barbara explained everything. Christopher was silent for a long moment. Aunt Barbara, if what you're telling me is accurate, this is absolutely FBI jurisdiction. Identity fraud. Wire fraud if she's been transferring titles electronically. Possible racketeering. I need to bring this to my supervisor. Can you send me everything you have? Documents, photos, witness statements. Yes, I said. I can send it all today. Good. And Mr. Mitchell, don't confront Karen Westbrook. If she's who you think she is, she's already served time for fraud. She knows how law enforcement works. She could run, destroy evidence, or worse. Just sit tight. We'll handle this. After the call ended, Barbara gripped my hand. We're going to stop her. Jake, whatever it takes. The emergency board meeting that evening, Barbara called another emergency board meeting. This time, she didn't tell the other board members what it was about, just said it was urgent. George Chun, Rita Delgado, Tom Park, and Michelle Rodriguez gathered in Barbara's living room again. They looked annoyed at being summoned on short notice. Barbara, what's this about? George checked his watch. I have a dinner reservation in an hour. It's about Karen Westbrook. Barbara's voice was steel. I've uncovered evidence that she's operating under a false identity and has been extorting homeowners. The room erupted. That's absurd. Rita, Shahid, do you have any proof? Michelle demanded, slipping into lawyer mode. Barbara nodded at me. I stood up, my laptop ready. Yes, I have proof. I showed them everything. The newspaper article about Harold Westbrook, the comparison photos, the fake death certificate, the missing funeral home records. Mrs. Foster's testimony, which I'd recorded with her permission, as I presented each piece of evidence. I watched the board members' faces change. George's smug expression faded. Rita's defensive posture softened. Tom leaned forward, suddenly interested. Michelle took notes rapidly. This is ... substantial, Michelle admitted. If this is true, we have serious liability issues. The HOA could be sued for negligence in hiring. That's your concern, I snapped. Not the elderly woman who lost her car. Not the families being I'm a lawyer, Mr. Mitchell. I think about liability. But you're right, this is much bigger than liability. Michelle closed her folder. Barbara moved that we immediately suspend Karen Westbrook pending investigation. Seconded? Tom said quickly. George raised his hand. Wait. Before we vote, I need to say something. He looked at me. Mr. Mitchell, I owe you an apology. I dismissed your concerns because I was focused on property values and appearances. I didn't see what was happening to our neighbors. I'm sorry. Vote, Barbara said firmly. All in favor of suspending Karen Westbrook's authority. 5 hands went up. Unanimous. Motion passes. Karen Westbrook is hereby I'll notify her immediately. The confrontation. Barbara called Karen from the meeting, putting it on speaker. The phone rang 4 times before Karen answered. Barbara, it's late. What do you want? Karen, The board has voted to suspend you from your position, effective immediately. You are to cease all HOA activities and return any HOA property in your possession." Silence. Then Karen laughed. Actually, laughed. "You can't suspend me. Check Article 23C, Section 7. The compliance coordinator can only be removed for cause after a formal hearing with 30 days' notice." "We have cause," Barbara said coldly. "Fraud, extortion, operating under a false identity. Should I continue?" The laughter stopped. "Careful, Barbara. Defamation is actionable. Truth is a defense to defamation. We know who you really are. Harold Westbrook, or should I say, the person who used that identity before becoming Karen." I could hear Karen's breathing change over the phone, quick, shallow breaths. "I don't know what nonsense Mr. Mitchell has been feeding you, but the FBI knows," I interrupted. "I contacted them this afternoon. They're very interested in your case." Another long silence. "You're bluffing." FBI Special Agent Christopher Henderson, White Collar Crime Division, Los Angeles Field Office. He has copies of everything. The fake death certificate, the witness statements, all of it. I heard something crash in the background. Karen was moving fast. "This isn't over," she hissed. "You have no idea what you've done." The line went dead. Barbara looked at me. Airface pale. That sounded like a threat. That's because it was. The next morning, FBI arrival at 7:30 a.m. There was a knock on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw 2 people in dark suits holding badges. I opened the door. Mr. Jake Mitchell. The woman, late 30s, with dark hair pulled back, showed her credentials. "I'm Special Agent Sarah Martinez, FBI. This is Special Agent David Park. We're here about Karen Westbrook." My heart was pounding. "Come in, please." We sat in my living room. Jessica had taken Ethan to her mother's house, sensing things were about to get intense. "Mr. Mitchell," Agent Martinez began, "we've reviewed the evidence you provided through Agent Henderson. We need to ask you some questions, and then we need to discuss your safety." "My safety." Agent Park nodded. "The person you know as Karen Westbrook is actually Kathleen West. She served 6 years in federal prison for the fraud scheme you discovered. Released 4 years ago. She was supposed to be under supervised release, checking in with a probation officer monthly, except she never checked in. She disappeared. We've been looking for her for nearly 4 years. 4 years. And she's been here for 6 months, running an It's actually brilliant," Agent Martinez said grimly. "HOAs have authority, but limited oversight. She created a new identity, bought property with cash she probably had hidden before prison, and found a perfect hunting ground. Homeowners terrified of losing their houses. She could extort people legally through HOA fines, take property as payment, and if anyone complained, she had the backing of the board." "Until now?" I said. "Until now? But here's the problem. We went to her house this morning at 6 a.m. to arrest her. She's gone. House is empty. No furniture, no personal items. Like she was never there." My blood ran cold. She ran. "Sometime between your phone call last night and this morning, she's in the wind." The cliffhanger discovery agent Park's phone buzzed. "I looked at it. Then at his partner? We've got something." Agent Martinez stood. "What?" "Bank records just came through. Karen Westbrook, Kathleen West, has been systematically draining the HOA reserve fund. Started small, 8 months ago. Escalated in the last 2 months. Total amount missing, $217,000. Barbara arrived at that moment. I'd texted her when the FBI showed up. She heard the last part and nearly collapsed. I caught her arm, helped her to the couch. $217,000? Barbara's voice was barely a whisper. That's almost our entire reserve fund. We had $240,000 saved for emergency repairs, insurance, legal fees, ... agent. Agent Martinez said, just enough that you wouldn't notice immediately. The perfect crime. Steal from the victims, while also extorting them individually. George Chun arrived next, then Rita, then the others. Soon my living room was full of board members and FBI agents. Agent Martinez addressed everyone. Here's the situation. Kathleen West, a.k.a. Karen Westbrook, Isa Fugiti. She's stolen over $200,000 from your HOA, extorted property from multiple homeowners, and violated federal probation. We have warrants out for her arrest. If anyone sees her or hears from her, call 911 immediately. Do not approach her. What about our money? George asked. Can we recover it? We'll try. But I'll be honest, if she's smart, she's already moved it offshore. Recovery can take years, if it happens at all. As the FBI agents prepared to leave, Agent Martinez turned to me. Mr. Mitchell, your investigation broke this case open. You've probably saved dozens of families from being victimized. The Bureau appreciates your work. After everyone left, I sat alone in my living room, exhausted. We'd exposed Karen. The FBI was hunting her. The extortion would stop. But she was still out there, and she knew I was the one who destroyed her scheme. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text message. You won, Jake. Congratulations. But games have consequences. Watch your back. And watch your family. I stared at the message, my hands shaking. This wasn't over. Not even close. Karen escaped. Do you think the FBI will catch her? And what do you think she'll do next? Share your predictions. April 2024. Police protection. The threatening text from Karen changed everything. I immediately called Agent Martinez. She contacted you. Her voice was sharp. Forward that message to me, right now. Don't delete it. I sent the screenshot while she stayed on the line. Mr. Mitchell, I'm arranging police protection for your family. Local police will patrol your street every hour. Is there somewhere else you and your family can stay for a few days? My wife's parents live in San Diego, about 2 hours away. Good park bags for a week. Leave within the hour. Don't tell anyone where you're going except me. Karen has proven she's dangerous and resourceful. Jessica was terrified when I told her. Within 45 minutes, we had suitcases packed, Ethan's toys loaded, and we were on the highway heading south. I watched the rearview mirror obsessively, looking for anyone following us. Jessica held my hand tight. Jake, what if she finds us? What if she hurts Ethan? She won't. The FBI is hunting her. Every law enforcement agency in California has her photo. She's running, not attacking. That text was just trying to scare us. But even as I said it, I wasn't sure I believed it. The neighborhood fallout. While hiding at Jessica's parents' house in San Diego, I stayed in constant contact with Barbara. The neighborhood was in chaos. 3 more families came forward. Barbara told me on a video call. Karen took a vintage motorcycle from the Hernandez family. Gold jewelry worth $12,000 from the and she convinced old Mr. Thompson to sign over a power of attorney. Then she drained his savings account of $38,000. I felt sick. How many victims total? At least 11 that we know of, and that's just property theft and extortion. The stolen HOA funds bring the total to over $250,000. What's the board doing? Barbara sighed heavily. Emergency meetings every day. We're trying to figure out how to recover the money. Our insurance might cover some of the stolen HOA funds, but there's a huge deductible. And the individual victims? Most of them didn't report to police because they were ashamed or scared. Now they're coming forward. But evidence is limited. What about my fence fine? And the foreclosure notice? Cancelled. Immediately. Along with every fine Karen ever issued, the board voted unanimously. We're refunding everyone who paid unjust fines. It's going to cost us, but it's the right thing to do. For the first time in weeks, I felt relief. Thank you, Barbara. No, Jake. Thank you. Without your investigation, Karen would still be destroying lives. You're a hero. I didn't feel like a hero. I felt like a man hiding from a criminal with my family 2 hours from home. The media storm by day 3. The story broke in the media. Someone leaked it to the local news. Fugitive fraudster infiltrates suburban HOA steals $250,000. That was the headline on Channel 7 News. My phone exploded with calls. Reporters wanted interviews. Neighbors wanted answers. Even people from other HOAs called asking how to prevent similar situations. Agent Martinez called, angry. Mr. Mitchell, did you talk to the press? No. I've been hiding in San Diego. Someone did. This media attention could spook Karen further underground, or it could make her more desperate and dangerous. That night, Channel 7 ran a full They showed Karen's photos, both as Harold Westbrook from 2007 and as Karen Westbrook from recent HOA newsletters. They interviewed Mrs. Foster about her car. They showed footage of FBI agents searching Karen's abandoned house. And then the anchor said something that made my blood run cold. FBI sources tell us that the key witness who exposed this fraud is electrical engineer Jake Mitchell, whose own investigation uncovered Karen Westbrook's real identity. They showed my photo, my name, my neighborhood. Jessica grabbed my arm. Jake, they just told Karen exactly who destroyed her scheme. The first sign of Karen Day 5 in San Diego. I was helping Jessica's father fix a leaky faucet when Agent Martinez called. We've got a sighting. Gas station in Riverside, 60 miles away. Karen bought gas, paid cash, got back in a silver Honda Accord. She's still in the area. Why would she stay? Why not run to Mexico? Either she's planning something or she doesn't have resources to run far. We froze her accounts. But she probably has cash stashed. I felt paranoid all day. Every car passing Jessica's parents' house made me nervous. That evening, Jessica's mother was making dinner when I noticed something odd. A silver Honda Accord parked across the street. Just a settin' there. Agent Martinez, I said when she answered. There's a silver Honda outside where I'm staying. Get everyone inside. Lock the doors. I'm sending units now. I gathered Jessica, Ethan, and Jessica's parents into the living room. Closed curtains. Locked everything. What's happening? Jessica's father asked. Karen might be outside. 15 minutes later, the longest 15 minutes of my life, sirens came. Multiple police cars surrounded the Honda. Officers approached with guns drawn. But the car was empty. An officer knocked. The vehicle was stolen yesterday in Pasadena. We're dusting for prints. But whoever was driving is gone. Karen had been watching us, and now she was playing games. The trap agent Martinez arrived an hour later with Agent Park and 4 other agents. This changes things, she said. Karen is stalking you. She's not running, she's hunting. We need to use you as bait. Jessica exploded. Absolutely not. You want to use my husband to catch a criminal? Mrs. Mitchell, I understand. But Karen has fixated on your husband. She blames him. She's coming after him, eventually. We can either wait for her to strike on her terms, or control the situation. How? I asked. Agent Martinez showed me a plan on her tablet. You go home. Make it public. We wire your house with cameras and listening devices. Agents stationed inside and outside. Hidden. When Kara makes a move, we grab her. What if her move is shooting me through a window? We'll have sharpshooters positioned, surveillance on every approach. The moment she gets close, we move. I looked at Jessica. She was shaking her head, tears in her eyes. Jake, please, this is insane. Jess, if we don't catch her, we're hiding forever. She found us in 5 days. She'll find us anywhere. The only way we get our lives back is if she's in custody. After 2 hours of argument, Jessica agreed, but only if her and Ethan stayed in San Diego until Karen was caught. Going home 2 days later, I drove back to Meadowbrook Estates. The FBI leaked to local news that I was returning, making sure Kara would know. My house looked normal outside, but inside, FBI command center. Cameras everywhere, microphones in walls, agents in garage and basement, sharpshooters on the neighbor's roof. Live normally, Agent Martinez instructed. Go to work, come home, mow the lawn. She's watching, waiting. That first night alone was terrifying. Every creak made me jump. I barely slept. Day 1, nothing. Day 2, work, home, agents. Reported no activity. Day 3, mowed lawn, washed car, acted normal. Day 4, still nothing. Maybe she's gone, I suggested. She's patient, waiting for you to let your guard down. The attack day 6, 3 in the morning. I was asleep in my bedroom when I heard glass breaking downstairs. I grabbed my phone, texted Agent Martinez as instructed. Breach. Then I heard footsteps. Someone was in my house. My bedroom door was locked, but I heard someone trying the handle. Then a woman's voice, cold and familiar. Jake, I know you're in there. We need to talk. Karen. The FBI is coming, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. You need to leave. She laughed. The FBI? Jake, I've been evading law enforcement for 4 years. You think I didn't notice the agents watching your house? I've been watching them, counting team, timing their patrols. I heard something against my door. She was picking the lock. I just want to talk, Karen said, face to face. You destroyed my life. I want you to look me in the eye while I explain what you've done. The lock clicked. The door started to open. I backed against the wall, phone in my hand. Karen stepped into my bedroom. She was wearing all black, hair pulled back, and in her hand was a gun. Don't scream, she said calmly. Don't move. Just listen. Where were the FBI agents? Why weren't they storming in? As if reading my mind, Karen smiled. I cut your power. Your cameras are dead. Your microphones are dead. It's just you and me now. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would burst. You took everything from me, Karen said, walking closer. I had a perfect operation. Steady income. New identity. I was finally free. Then you had to play detective. You were stealing from innocent people. Elderly people. Innocent. She laughed bitterly. You know what's innocent? A kid growing up in foster care, bounced between abusive homes. Nobody caring if you live or die. That was me. I learned early. Take what you need. Trust no one. Survive. Your innocent neighbors have houses worth $500,000. They cry about an $8,000 fine while real people starve. That doesn't justify fraud, doesn't it? She raised the gun, pointing it at my chest. I spent 6 years in federal prison, 6 years in a cage. I promised myself I'd never go back, and I won't. Karen, please. My name is Kathleen. Karen was just a role, like Harold before her, like Marcus before him. I've had a dozen names, a dozen lives. But you just had to be the hero. I saw a movement behind her. In the hallway, Agent Martinez creeping silently. I needed to keep Karen talking. What were you going to do with the money? Disappear, new identity, new country. I had $217,000. Enough to start over somewhere. The FBI couldn't find me. But you ruined that. Agent Martinez was 3 feet behind her now. So what happens now? I asked. You shoot me and go to prison forever? I shoot you and disappear. They'll never find me. I'm a ghost. Drop the weapon. Agent Martinez had her gun aimed at Karen's head. 3 more agents burst through the door behind her. Karen spun around, her gun swinging toward the agents. Everything happened in slow motion. I saw Agent Martinez's finger on the trigger, Karen's finger tightening on hers. I was about to witness someone die in my bedroom. Don't, I screamed. Karen, please, don't make them shoot you. Karen froze. For just a second, her mask slipped. I saw fear in her eyes. Real, genuine fear. Then she lowered the gun. Smart choice, Agent Martinez said. moving forward with handcuffs. Within seconds, Karen Kathleen West was on the ground, handcuffed, surrounded by agents. "You okay, Mr. Mitchell?" A.G. Park asked me. I was shaking so badly I could barely stand. "How did she cut the power?" "She didn't. We cut it, made her think her plan worked so she'd commit. We had night vision and backup power the whole time. You were never in real danger. Never in real danger." Right, I'd just had a gun pointed at my chest by a convicted felon. The aftermath, they took Karen away in an FBI vehicle. I gave my statement at 3:30 in the morning, then collapsed on my couch as the sun came up. By noon, it was all over the news. Fugitive fraudster captured in dramatic FBI sting. Videos of Karen being led away in handcuffs. Interviews with neighbors celebrating. Barbara called. "Jake, she's caught. Ite over. You can come home, really home." Agent Martinez visited that afternoon. Kathleen West is being charged with federal probation violation, fraud, grand theft, burglary, assault with a deadly weapon, and about 15 other charges. She's looking at 25 to 30 years minimum. She'll die in prison. "Good," I said without hesitation. "The victims are filing a class action lawsuit. Between recovered funds and government seizure of assets, most should get at least partial restitution. Your HOA will recover most of the stolen money through insurance and asset recovery." "And my fence? Fine?" She smiled. "The board voted to pay for professional surveying and fence relocation at HOA expense. They're also refunding all your legal research costs and have formally apologized. You're a neighborhood hero, Mr. Mitchie." I didn't feel like a hero. I felt exhausted. 3 weeks later, Resolution, Jessica and Ethan came home. We had a neighborhood barbecue. Every family Karen victimized came to thank me. Mrs. Foster, whose car was stolen, hugged me with tears. "You gave me hope that good people exist." The HOA held elections. Barbara remained president with new oversight procedures. No single person could ever have Karen's unchecked authority again. George Chun apologized personally. I was so focused on property values, I forgot about people. The FBI recovered $186,000. Most victims got 60 to 70% back. Not perfect, but better than nothing. My fence. Surveyors confirmed it was only 5 inches over. Barely noticeable. HOA moved it at their expense. I never paid a penny. Epilogue. 6 months later, I was pushing Ethan on the playground swing when Barbara walked over. "Jake, I wanted to thank you again. Because of you, we made real changes. New bylaws, new protections, new transparency. You saved this neighborhood." I watched Ethan laugh as he swung higher. "I just wanted to protect my family. And you did. You protected all our families." That night, Jessica and I sat on our back porch, the new fence properly positioned behind us. Ethan was asleep. The neighborhood was quiet and peaceful. "Do you regret it?" Jessica asked. "Everything you went through?" I thought about the fear, the threats, the gun pointed at my chest. But I also thought about Mrs. Foster getting her car back, the Johnsons recovering their jewelry, families sleeping safely knowing Karen couldn't hurt them anymore. "No," I said finally. "I don't regret it. Sometimes you have to fight back. Even when it's scary, especially when it's scary." Jessica squeezed my hand. "My hero," I smiled. Maybe I was. Not the cape-wearing kind, just a regular guy who refused to be a victim. And sometimes that's the most important kind of hero there is. Justice served. Karen got 25 to 30 years. What did you think of the ending? Share your favorite moment from this story, and check out our other HOA drama stories. 1 year later, October 2025, I was sitting in a federal courtroom in downtown Los Angeles, watching Kathleen West, the woman I'd known as Karen Westbrook, face her sentencing hearing. Jessica sat beside me, holding my hand tight. Behind us were Mrs. Foster, the Hernandez family, the Patels, and 11 other victims whose lives Karen had destroyed. Judge Patricia Morrison, A stern woman in her 60s with silver hair studied the case files before her. Karen sat at the defense table in an orange prison jumpsuit, her hair pulled back, looking nothing like the confident HOA coordinator who'd once threatened my family. Ms. West, Judge Morrison began. You have been convicted on 23 federal charges, including wire fraud, identity theft, probation, violation, extortion, and assault with a deadly weapon. Before I pass sentence, does the prosecution wish to make a statement? Assistant U.S. Attorney David Chun stood. Yes, Your Honor. The government recommends the maximum sentence. Ms. West has shown no remorse, has a lengthy criminal history, and posed a direct threat to innocent families. She systematically targeted vulnerable elderly citizens, stealing their property through fear and intimidation. Does the defense wish to respond? Karen's public defender, a young woman named Rebecca Torres, stood reluctantly. Your Honor, my client experienced significant childhood trauma. She grew up in foster care, suffered abuse, and developed survival mechanisms that, Your Honor, I was surprised to hear my own voice. Judge Morrison looked at me. May I speak? You're Jake Mitchell, the primary witness. Yes, Your Honor. You may approach. I walked to the front of the courtroom, my legs shaking. I turned to face Karen. She stared at me with cold, emotionless eyes. Your Honor, I understand childhood trauma. My mother battled cancer. We struggled financially. Life isn't fair to anyone, but trauma doesn't give anyone the right to destroy other people's lives. I pointed at Mrs. Foster. That woman is 82 years old. Karin stole her car, her only means of transportation. Mrs. Foster missed 6 months of doctor appointments because she couldn't get there. I turned back to Karen. You had choices. You could have gotten help. You could have worked an honest job. Instead, you chose to prey on families like mine. You pointed a gun at me in my own bedroom while my 2-year-old son slept at his grandmother's house, terrified his father might die. Karen's expression didn't change. No remorse. No emotion. Nothing. Maximum sentence. Premedicide firmly. She deserves every year. Judge Morrison nodded. Thank you, Mr. Macia. Miss West, please stand. Karen stood, her chains rattling. Kathleen West, you have demonstrated a pattern of predatory behavior spanning nearly 2 decades. You have shown zero remorse for your actions. You violated federal probation, assumed multiple false identities, and systematically targeted vulnerable citizens for financial gain. This court sentences you to 32 years in federal prison without possibility of parole for 15 years. In addition, you are ordered to pay full restitution to all victims in the amount of $268,000. Bailiff, please remove the defendant. As they led Karen away, she looked at me one last time, and for just a second, I saw something in her eyes: defeat. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. Camera flashes everywhere. Mr. Mitchell, how do you feel about the sentence? Justice was served? I said simply, that's all that matters. Mrs. Foster hugged me, crying, Thank you. Thank you for having the courage to fight back. The restitution process 2 months after sentencing, Agent Martinez called with good news. We've recovered significant assets. Karen had money hidden in offshore accounts, cryptocurrency, and property in 3 states under shell companies. Total recovered $243,000. That's almost everything. Not quite. Some was spent. Some we couldn't trace. But enough to give every victim at least 80% back. Your HOA recovers $170,000. Checks arrived in January. Our HOA received $170,000 for the reserve fund. Individual victims got their money. Mrs. Foster got $6,800, enough for a reliable used car. The Hernandez family recovered their motorcycle's value. The Patels got 90% back. Not perfect, but better than expected. Barbara called a special meeting to present the recovered funds and discuss reforms. Because of what happened, Barbara announced to the Pact Community Center, we've implemented new rules. No single person can issue fines over $1,000. All fines require board approval. We've hired an outside auditing firm to review our finances quarterly. And we've established a homeowner advocacy committee so residents have a voice when they feel they're being treated unfairly. The room erupted in applause. None of this would have happened without Jake Mitchell, Barbara continued. Jake, would you come up here? Reluctantly, I walked to the front. Barbara handed me an envelope. The board voted unanimously. We're refunding every penny you spent investigating Karen, research costs, legal consultations, everything. Plus, we're paying for professional landscaping of your property as a thank you. You saved this community. Inside the envelope was a check for $12,500, the exact amount of the original fraudulent fine, plus my investigation expenses. I looked at my neighbors, people I'd lived near for 6 years, people who'd once supported Karen's tyranny because they valued property values over compassion. But they'd changed. We'd all changed. Thank you, I said simply, but I didn't do this for money or recognition. I did it because it was right, and I hope every person in this room remembers that lesson. When you see injustice, you don't look away. You fight back. The standing ovation lasted 2 full minutes. The documentary in March. Filmmaker Marcus Rodriguez contacted me about a documentary on HOA abuse across America. Your case is the most dramatic example. Would you participate? Jessica and I discussed it. Maybe it helps other people, she said. Maybe someone will recognize warning signs in their own HOA. We agreed. Marcus spent 2 months filming. He interviewed me, Jessica, Barbara, FBI agents, victims, even George Chun, who tearfully apologized on camera. I was blind, George said. I saw property values going up and thought that's all that mattered. I forgot these were people's homes, their lives. The documentary revealed Karen had run similar schemes in 4 other states: Wisconsin, Arizona, Oregon, Texas. Each time with new identities, stealing and vanishing. She was a ghost, Agent Martinez explained. Jake Mitchell was the first person who investigated deep enough to connect her to previous crimes. The documentary The HOA Predator premiered at a festival, then hit streaming services. It trended. Millions watched. I received hundreds of emails from people sharing their own horror stories. You inspired me to fight back. One woman wrote, my HOA tried foreclosing over a $3,000 fine. I showed them your story and threatened media exposure. They backed down. The unexpected visitor in August, 18 months after Karen's arrest. Something strange happened. I was in my backyard with Ethan, now almost 4 years old, teaching him how to water the garden when Jessica called from the house. Jake, there's someone at the door. She says she's Karen's sister. My blood ran cold. Karen had a sister? I walked to the front door cautiously. A woman in her early 40s stood on my porch. She had similar features to Karen. Same sharp cheekbones, same intense eyes, but her expression was open, almost pleading. Mr. Mitchell. I'm Diana West, Kathleen's younger sister. Please, I just need 5 minutes of your time. How did you find me? The documentary. I saw everything. I needed to come here to apologize in person. Against my better judgment, I let her sit on the porch. I stood, keeping distance between us. I don't know if Kathleen told you anything about our childhood, Diana began. It was hell. Our parents were addicts. We went into foster care when I was 5, and Kathleen was 8. We got separated. Different homes. I got lucky. My foster family eventually adopted me. They were kind, supportive, but Kathleen... ... double. Quotes. Her voice cracked. She went through 7 different homes. Some of them were abusive, really abusive. I'm sorry for what she went through. But that doesn't excuse, I know, Diana interrupted. I'm not making excuses. What she did was evil. Those people she hurt, they didn't deserve it. You didn't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that the person you caught, the criminal who terrorized your neighborhood, that wasn't always who she was. Then, who was she? When we were kids, before everything fell apart, Kathleen was my hero. She protected me from our parents. She made sure I ate, even when she went hungry. When social services came, she held my hand and told me everything would be okay. Diana wiped tears from her eyes, but the foster system broke her. She learned that trust gets you hurt, kindness gets you exploited, and the only person you can rely on is yourself. Did you stay in contact? I tried. 4 years I tried, but every time I found her, she'd push me away. Said I reminded her of everything she'd lost. The last time I saw her was 8 years ago. She was using the name Marcus Peterson then, running some kind of investment scheme in Portland. I begged her to stop, to get help. She told me to forget I ever had a sister. Diana stood up. I know me being here is strange. I just needed you to know that I'm grateful you stopped her. Not just for your sake, but for hers too. In prison, maybe she'll finally get the mental health treatment she always needed. Maybe 20 or 30 years from now, when she gets out, she'll be different. You really believe that? I have to believe it. She's the only family I have. Diana handed me a piece of paper. That's my email. If you ever want to talk, or if you have questions about Kathleen's past, I'm here. And Mr. Mitch, thank you. You saved people. That takes real courage. After Diana left, I sat on my porch for a long time, thinking, Kathleen was a monster who'd hurt innocent people, but she was also a broken human being who'd never recovered from childhood trauma. It didn't excuse what she'd done. Nothing could excuse that, but it helped me understand. The new normal by fall. Life returned to normal. Fence properly positioned. HOA running smoothly. Ethan thriving in preschool. Jessica back to full-time work, but some things changed permanently. I no longer took security for granted. Better locks. Camera doorbell. Motion sensor lights. I checked HOA financial reports quarterly. When neighbors complained about rules, I listened. The neighborhood changed too. People were kinder, more aware. New residents got warned. Watch the HOA. Ask questions. Push back if something seems wrong. Barbara remained president but was humbler, more cautious. I thought being good president meant high property values, she told me. Now I know it means protecting people. George Chun transformed. He started Neighborhood Watch and helped elderly residents with groceries and medical appointments. Partly penance, but also genuine desire to help. The final letter, 2 years after Karen's sentencing, I received a letter, Federal Prison Return Address, from Kathleen West. I almost threw it away without opening. But curiosity won. Dear Mr. Mitchell, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. You were right in court. I had choices. I chose wrong. Again and again. I'm writing because I've been going through intensive therapy here. Court ordered at first, but I've continued voluntarily. I'm finally confronting things I've avoided my whole life. My therapist says I need to take real accountability, not excuses about childhood trauma, not rationalizations about survival, just honest accountability. I hurt you. I threatened your family. I stole from elderly people who'd done nothing to me. I justified it by telling myself they were privileged, that I was owed something. But I was just a bully. A criminal. A coward. You had every right to ignore the fence. Fine. Pay a lawyer. Fight me in court. Instead, you investigated. You cared enough about your community to expose me. That's integrity I've never had. I'm serving 32 years. I'll be 68 when I'm released. Most of my life will be spent in prison. That's justice. That's what I earned. But maybe in 30 years, I'll be different. Maybe I'll be the person my sister Diana remembers from childhood. Maybe I'll be someone who helps people instead of hurting them. Thank you for stopping me. You saved people I would have victimized next month, next year. You saved me from adding more crimes to the ones I already carry. I hope you and your family are happy and safe. Kathleen West. I read it 3 times. Then I showed Jessica. Do you believe her? She asked. I don't know. Maybe. People can change. But it doesn't matter if I believe her or not. What matters is, she's locked up and can't hurt anyone else. I never responded to the letter, but he kept Italiano, a reminder that even monsters are human. Even humans can become monsters, and the line between the two is thinner than we'd like to believe. Epilogue. 5 years later, it's October 2029. Ethan is 7 years old now, playing soccer in the backyard where the fence once caused so much trouble. Jessica and I are sitting on the porch, watching him practice. Our neighborhood is thriving. Property values are up, but not because of tyrannical enforcement, because people actually want to live here. We have block parties, neighborhood barbecues, real community. Barbara retired last year. The new HOA president is Marcus Johnson, a 35-year-old tech worker who ran on a platform of transparency and compassion. He's doing great. Sometimes reporters still call, wanting follow-up interviews about Karen. I usually decline. The story's been told. It's time to move forward. But I'll never forget the lesson I learned. Evil thrives when good people look away. Karen wasn't stopped by police or FBI. She was stopped by an ordinary guy who refused to be a victim. Ethan kicks the soccer ball and it rolls to my feet. He kick it back, watching him laugh as he chases it. This is what I fought for. This moment. This moment. This peace. This life. And it was worth every terrifying second. Thank you for following Jake's incredible journey. What would you have done in his situation? Share your thoughts. Subscribe for more dramatic HOA stories where ordinary people fight back against injustice. Have your own HOA horror story? Share it in the comments below. Final verdict. Karen. 32 years in prison. Jake Freeman with his family. Safe community, reformed, and stronger than ever. Never stop fighting for what's right.